Hello, welcome to Azure Cloud channel. In this module, we will talk about Azure DevOps interview questions and answers. Let's start. What is DevOps? DevOps is the combination of cultural philosophies, practices, and tools that increases an organization's ability to deliver applications and services at high velocity, evolving and improving products at a faster pace than organizations using traditional software development and infrastructure management processes. This speed enables organizations to better serve their customers and compete more effectively in the market. DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. What is continuous integration? Continuous integration is a DevOps software development practice where developers regularly merge their code changes into a central repository, after which automated builds and tests are run. Continuous integration most often refers to the build or integration stage of the software release process and entails both an automation component and a cultural component. The key goals of continuous integration are to find and address bugs quicker, improve software quality, and reduce the time it takes to validate and release new software updates. Continuous integration is the process of automating the build and testing of code every time a team member commits changes to version control. What is continuous delivery? Continuous delivery is a software development practice where code changes are automatically prepared for a release to production. A pillar of modern application development, continuous delivery expands upon continuous integration by deploying all code changes to a testing environment and or a production environment after the build stage. When properly implemented, developers will always have a deployment-ready build artifact that has passed through a standardized test process. Continuous delivery is the process to build, test, configure, and deploy from a build to a production environment. What is Azure DevOps? Azure DevOps provides developer services to support teams to plan, work, collaborate on code development, and build and deploy applications. Developers can work in the cloud using Azure DevOps services or on-premises using Azure DevOps Server. Azure DevOps Server was formerly named Visual Studio Team Foundation Server, that is TFS. Azure DevOps provides integrated features that you can access through your web browser or IDE client. What are the services that Azure DevOps provides? We can use one or more of the services based on our business needs. Azure Repos. Azure Repos provides Git repositories or Team Foundation version control for source control of our code. Azure Pipelines provides build and release services to support continuous integration and delivery of our apps. Azure Boards delivers a suite of Agile tools to support planning and tracking work, code defects, and issues using Kanban and Scrum methods. Azure Test Plans provides several tools to test our applications, including manual, exploratory testing, and continuous testing. Azure Artifacts allows teams to share Maven and PM from public and private sources and integrate package sharing into our CI/CD pipelines. What are microservices? Microservices are an architectural an organizational approach to software development where software is composed of small independent services that communicate over well-defined APIs. These services are owned by small, self-contained teams. Microservices architectures makes applications easier to scale and faster to develop, enabling innovation and accelerating time to market for new features. Microservices describes the architectural pattern of composing a distributed application from separately deployable services that perform specific business functions and communicate over web interfaces. DevOps teams encapsulate individual pieces of functionality in microservices and build larger systems by composing the microservices like building blocks. What is monitoring? Monitoring provides feedback from production. Monitoring delivers information about an application's performance and usage patterns. One goal of monitoring is to achieve high availability by minimizing time to detect and time to mitigate. In other words, as soon as performance and other issues arise, rich diagnostic data about the issues are fed back to development teams via automated monitoring. That is time to mitigate, called TTD. DevOps teams act on the information to mitigate the issues as quickly as possible so that users are no longer affected. That is TTM. Resolution times are measured and teams work to improve over time. After mitigation, teams work on how to remediate problems at root cause so that they do not recur. That time is measured as TTR. A second goal of monitoring is to enable validated learning by tracking usage. The core concept of validated learning is that every deployment is an opportunity to track experimental results that support or diminish the hypothesis that led to the deployment. Tracking usage and differences between versions allow teams to measure the impact of change and drive business decisions. What is Agile? Agile is a term used to describe approaches to software development, emphasizing incremental delivery, team collaboration, continual planning, and continual learning. Agile methods are comprehensive approaches to phases of the software development lifecycle: planning, execution, and delivery. They prescribe a method for accomplishing work with clear guidance and principles. What is Scrum? Scrum is a framework used by teams to manage their work. Scrum implements the principles of Agile as a concrete set of artifacts, practices, and roles. Scrum prescribes three specific roles: product owner, Scrum master, and Scrum team. Product owner responsible for what the team is building and what they are building it. The product owner is responsible for keeping the backlog up to date and in priority order. Scrum Master responsible to ensure the Scrum process is followed by the team. Scrum Masters are continually on the lookout for how the team can improve while also resolving impediments, that is blocking issues that arise during the sprint. Scrum Masters are part coach, part team member, and part cheerleader. Scrum team is the last one. These are the individuals that actually build the product. The team owns the engineering of the product and the quality that goes with it. What is Agile development? Agile development is a term used to describe iterative software development. Iterative software development shortens the software development lifecycle. Agile development teams execute the entire software development lifecycle in smaller increments, usually called sprints. Sprints are typically 1 to 4 weeks long. Agile development is often contrasted with traditional or waterfall development, where larger projects are planned upfront and executed against that plan. Delivering production quality code every sprint requires the Agile development team to account for the accelerated pace. All coding, testing, and quality verification must be done each and every sprint. Unless a team is properly set up, it can fail, and sometimes fail miserably. What is Azure Boards? Azure Boards delivers a suite of Agile tools to support planning and tracking work, code defects, and issues using Kanban and Scrum methods. With the Azure Boards web service, teams can manage their software projects. It provides a rich set of capabilities, including native support for Scrum and Kanban, customizable dashboards, and integrated reporting. These tools can scale as our business grows. We can quickly and easily start tracking user stories, backlog items, tasks, features, and bugs associated with your project. We can track work by adding work items based on the process and work item types available to our project. What is Azure Pipelines? Azure Pipelines provides build and release services to support continuous integration and delivery of our application. Azure Pipelines is a cloud service that we can use to automatically build and test our core project and make it available to other users. It works with just about any language or project type. Azure Pipelines combines continuous integration and continuous delivery to constantly and consistently test and build our code and ship it to any target. What is Azure Repos? Azure Repos provides Git repositories or team foundation version control for source control of our code. Azure Repos is a set of version control tools that we can use to manage our code. Whether our software project is large or small, using version control as soon as possible is a good idea. Version control systems are software that help us to track changes that we make in our code over time. As we edit our code, we tell the version control system to take a snapshot of our files. The version control system saves that snapshot permanently so we can recall it later if we need it. Use version control to save our work and coordinate code changes across our team. What is Azure Test Plans? Azure Test Plans provides several tools to test our applications, including manual, exploratory testing, and continuous testing. Azure DevOps and TFS provide rich and powerful tools everyone in the team can use to drive quality and collaboration throughout the development process. The easy-to-use browser-based test management solution provides all the capabilities required for planned manual testing, user acceptance testing, exploratory testing, and gathering feedback from stakeholders. Let's talk about each of these capabilities in detail. Planned manual testing. Manual testing by organizing tests into test plans and test suites by designated testers and test leads. User acceptance testing is testing carried out by designated user acceptance testers to verify the value delivered meets customer requirements while reusing the test artifacts created by engineering teams. What is Azure Artifacts? Azure Artifacts allows teams to share Maven, NPM, and NuGet packages from public and private sources and integrate package sharing into our CI/CD pipelines. With Azure Artifacts, we can create and share Maven, NPM, NuGet packages feeds from public and private sources with teams of any size. We can add fully integrated package management to our continuous delivery pipelines with a single click. Azure Artifacts is an extension to Azure DevOps Services and Azure DevOps Server. It comes pre-installed in Azure DevOps Services, Azure DevOps Server 2019 and 2020, and Team Foundation Server 2017 and 2018. What is a project? A project provides a repository for source code and a place for a group of people to plan, track progress, and collaborate on building software solutions. It represents a fundamental container where data is stored when added to Azure DevOps. When, when we create our project, a team of the same name is automatically created. For small teams, this is sufficient. However, for enterprise-level organizations, it may be necessary to scale up to create to additional teams and projects. These can be created within the single account or collection. A project in Azure DevOps contains the following set of features: boards and backlogs for agile planning, pipelines for continuous integration and deployment, repos for version control and management of source code and artifacts, continuous test integration throughout the project lifecycle. Each organization contains one or more projects. How many projects do you need? We need to have at least one project to start using an Azure DevOps service such as Azure Boards, Azure Repos, or Azure Pipelines. When we create our organization, a default project gets created for you. In our default project, there is a code report to start working in, backlog to track work, and at least one pipeline to begin automating build and release. There is one module in my channel, Introduction to Azure DevOps. In that module, I created projects. I showed you how to create a task, how to add a backlog, how to add a team member, and how to create additional projects. Please go through that video module so that you learn more about this project. The next one, what is source control? A source control system, also called a version control system, allows developers to collaborate on code and track changes. Source control is an essential tool for multi-developer projects. Azure systems support two types of source control: Git and Team Foundation version control. Team Foundation version control is a centralized client-server system. In both Git and Team Foundation version control, we can check in files and organize files in folders, branches, and repositories. How to connect to a project in Azure DevOps? We can use any of the following clients. We can use Web Portal, can use Visual Studio or Team Explorer, Eclipse, Team Explorer Everywhere, Android Studio with the Azure DevOps Services plugin for Android Studio, and LG with the Azure DevOps Services plugin, and Visual Studio Code. What is differences between Azure DevOps Services and Azure DevOps Server? Azure DevOps Services and Azure DevOps Server were formerly named Visual Studio Team Services and Team Foundation Server. Both offerings provide an integrated, collaborative environment that supports Git, continuous integration, and Agile tools for planning and tracking work. Azure DevOps Services is the cloud offering that provides a scalable, reliable, and globally available hosted service. It is backended by a 99.9% SLA, monitored by Azure 24 by 7 operations team, and available in local data centers around the world. Azure DevOps Server is the on-premises offering that is built on a SQL Server backend. Customer Customers usually choose on-premises when they need their data to stay within their network or when they want to access to SQL Server reporting services that integrate with Azure DevOps data and tools. Although both offerings provide the same essential services compared with Azure DevOps Server, Azure DevOps Services offers the additional benefits: simplified server management, immediate access to the latest and greatest features, improved connectivity with remote sites, a transition from capital expenditures to operational expenditures. What kinds of version control can I use? When we are ready to get going with our CI/CD for our applications, we can use the version control system of our choice. The client's Visual Studio Code for Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Eclipse, Xcode, Visual Studio with Git for Windows or Visual Studio for Mac command line. And the services, Azure Pipelines, Git service providers such as GitHub and Bitbucket Cloud, and Subversion. How can I delete a pipeline? To delete a pipeline, navigate to the summary page for that pipeline and choose delete from the menu in the top right of the page. So you can go to my introduction to Azure DevOps video module, then you can see it how to delete the pipeline. And once we go to that summary page for that pipeline and choose delete from the menu, top right of the page, we can just type the name of the pipeline to confirm and we can select delete. How do I programmatically create a build pipeline? We can build custom applications or services that integrate with our Azure DevOps and Team Foundation server accounts by using the REST APIs to make direct HTTP calls or utilize our .NET client libraries. Along with interacting with Azure DevOps or TFS in our application, we can also integrate with popular third-party services such as Slack or Jenkins. How to mark a task or work item as a milestone task. Milestone markers are not used in Azure boards work tracking except for delivery plans. Delivery plans provide a calendar view and allow us to define a milestone marker. However, we can use one or more of the following options to mark a work item as a milestone. Simply prepend or append the word milestone in the title of our work item. Add a work item tag labeled milestone, or add a custom field labeled milestone and populate it with a pick list of milestones. Link work items using the successor or related link type to a milestone work item. How do I change the pick list of the values? Pick list value entries are dependent on the data type. Can I add someone else to follow a work item or PR? We can't add another team member to follow a work item or pull a request at this time. We can subscribe them to get notified based on the select criteria such as when a work item is created or modified or a pull request is created. So far in this module, we discussed Azure DevOps, interview, questions and answers. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. If you like this video, please subscribe and share the channel. Thank you.